Hey everybody, backyard scrapping here, and I am still alive, so let's get to it and finish up part 5. This is batch number 1. That is the 4th HCl boil. Look at the color of that stuff, and then look at the color of this. That was the first clean wash. And look at my yard. It's a damn shame. This is how it stays now. Anyhow, I started on this yesterday doing a rinse. I don't know what the date is. I'm not going to keep track of that, but I just wanted to show you why you have to clean that stuff up. If that was pure, there would be no color in that. So that is actually boiling out some impurities. Alright, I just wanted to show you that real quick. I'm going to get back at it. I've still got the rest of the batches to do. I'm either going to do the real teeny batch all the way through and show you, or the second to the last one. I'm just not sure yet. Alright guys, I just wanted to show that to you. Okay guys, it's another day. I get to look at my hay field. I mean, look. There's a bunch of copper I have to process one day. Look at my grass. This is the backyard. A friend comes over and mows the front so it doesn't look like the place is abandoned. But look at this grass. Anyway, one day I wanted to bring you in on something and show you. I know I said I wasn't going to show a lot of the process, but when something, until we get to one of these little guys. But I want to show you something. You see that stuff floating in there? And I'm hoping this is focusing because this is my old camera. The other one's charging. That stuff that's floating, and you see, I don't know if you can see, there's almost a black layer on the very top that settled out first. When I'm rinsing this, I pour this all off into this slough bucket, or whatever you want to call it. I have processed that in the past because I know there's a little bit of silver in it. But even after doing 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 kilos of most of the time contacts, that stuff that's floating or still floating, once you see that black line and what's still floating in there is not silver. I can tell you that right now. More than likely there's some lead, other contaminations or stuff like that, but it is not silver. If I keep pouring this off, this rinse water, in here, when it's cloudy like that, now this is different from gold, this is silver. Like I said, even after about 5 kilos, I may get a gram of silver out of that, maybe 2 grams. I don't think I've ever gotten 2 grams, but I'm wanting to show you that because sometimes, you get contacts that are fairly clean sometimes, and you get some that are not so clean, and even though these look good and they were cleaned up well, there's a lot of other junk in these. Not a lot, but I mean enough that if I sit here and wait till this settles and clear, and I keep doing that, the same thing's going to happen over and over and over. We're going to end up with this haze that takes a half an hour or an hour sometimes to finally settle out. Look, you can see the layers in there. Alright, the good clean silver is at the bottom. You can see it. The so-so crap is up at the top. That black line that you're seeing is not silver. Okay, I don't know what it is. Maybe one day I'll just dry all this out and take it, and when I can have, when I can afford to just waste the money on testing something I know isn't any good, and see what it is. But for right now, I'm just showing you. Right now at that stage, I pour this off, and I keep rinsing it until my water gets clearer and clearer and clearer. And like I said, this is another day. I'm not trying to whine, but I can only be out here, tops half an hour right now. I can only stand up that long without having a lot of pain. So anyway, let me get back to this. I'm wasting my standing time, but I did want to show you that. So I am going to stir that up again, and I'm going to pour it off. Like I said, I hope this turns out. Because this is my old camera that was giving me trouble. Alright guys, I'll get back to you in a little while. Okay guys, same batch, about 10 minutes later. I just want to show you I finished the rinse. Our water is clear. You see that stuff floating on top and that grayish looking stuff? There is silver tied up in that, you know, minute particles of silver, but the majority of it is not. And you can see the layer. Okay, this is why I'm saying you have to clean your stuff up. It's not just because you dropped it and you did what you did and all that. There's still other stuff in it. I'm doing this because I'm showing you. Like I said, I wasn't going to do this to the last, but I don't know if the last one is going to do this. Now the first two have. I'm going to pour in some muriatic acid now. I want you to watch what happens. If this was pure, this acid will stay clear. And it's not. You see the green coming up? Now you'll see the stuff bunch up. But you see that color? Alright, that tells me that this silver is still dirty. Alright, it's going to bunch up. The acid's going to drop all that. But that stuff that's floating on the top of that right now, if that was silver, it would have clumped up and fell. It's not. So you know there's impurities in here. Now what I'm going to do, the last one took 4 or 5 boils before the acid stayed clear. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the heat, get it to boil, and it will turn yellow. It'll turn like that or darker. But you can see that black. See, that's gray looking. Gray is not silver. It's not pure. White, snow white, or silvery white is pure. So this is what I'm going to do. I just wanted to show you this part because, like I said, when I go through the entire process, I don't know, you know, what each batch is going to do until I do it. But that little bit of stuff that's floating on top of there, if that was silver, it would have sunk. So that tells you that this is still contaminated. You can see that black layer right there. That's contamination. If you melt that right now, that is not going to be pure silver. And you can see it mix up into the silver. But it is not silver. I don't know what it is. Like I said, maybe one day I'll keep this stuff and settle it out. But when I'm done, I'll show you this batch and I'll show you the difference. You see how gray that is? That's steely gray color. Alright, when this is done, I'll show you what color it needs to be. So again, like I said, I wasn't going to do this, but these things are happening, and as they're happening, like I said, it may not happen to that batch. So, you know, I'm just going to cut in every now and again and show you this stuff. Alright, we'll be back when this is clean, and I'll show you the difference. Well, you know what, guys? I think I'm just going to make this the video because the process, because I'm showing you most of this process anyway. That's our second time with straight HCl in the boil. Look at the color of that solution. And look at the color of this, the pour off. That's the pour off. Now how can you tell me that that was pure silver if you'd have melted it as is? Just because you dissolved it and dropped it with copper, I don't care if you drop it with acid and do a chloride drop, I don't care. This material has to be cleaned after the fact. It is not, that's not clean. There's no way that that's clean silver. And so you know, there's my little waste pot. That's over 5 gallons of this stuff reduced down, our copper. And what I'll do is reduce this down till it's hard, and then I'll scrape it out of that pot, put it in a bag, and give it to my buddy, and he'll get the rest of the goodies out of it. But you see that? Not clean. That silver was not clean. That's why I can confidently say 3/9 fine silver when I'm done. Most of the time it's 4/9 fine, or so close to 4/9 fine that it doesn't matter. But industry standard wise, this is why my silver is clean. So anyway, I'm going to go through this process, I guess, with this batch because there is some contamination in it. We got a few things going on, so I'll hit and miss. We still got 4 more batches to do, plus I have some other things I have to do and check that little batch of wire that we had from last time, try and figure out what that was. But anyway, I'm going to continue on. I'm going to ease over here to my wonderful little chair and sit down because I have to. Hate to keep complaining about that, but I have no choice. This is why my videos have been so hit and miss, especially over the past year. I just had a lot of things pile up at one time. Retirement ain't all it's cracked up to be. I'll tell you, I can give you that for sure. So, and you know, like I said, I'm trying not to complain, but what used to take me a week to do, or a day to do now, takes me a week. What used to take me a week takes me a month. You know, you guys remember my yard. It was like a golf course. It was beautiful. And I mean, every time I come out here, you know, I'm just almost disgusted because the trees are falling. I've got a tree down over there. I had a tree come down on the house. You know, and if it wasn't for my friends, you know, thank God I've got some really good friends that, you know, I mean, they can only do what they can do, though. I mean, you know, they got lives, too. They can't come over and take care of me, but they do their best to help me out. When my pump went out, I've got a real good friend that I've known for many, many years, back when I had the gem mine and the rock and gem shop. And he came over and replaced and redid all the stuff on my pump. You know, I mean, that, if I'd had to pay for that, it would have been thousands of dollars. And he spent, and he kept coming back until everything was perfect. So thank God for people like that. All right, guys, I'm going to let this go. You can see it's getting dirtier, which is exactly what I want it to do. I want it to get nasty, and then I want it to be clear. So we'll be back in a bit. Okay, guys, we are coming up on the end of our round 2 boil. I'm going to take this off. You can still see it has cleaned up a little. Set that right there for a minute. Back off. Get back where I can take a breath. I want to get up close to this and show you something, but I got to wait till that settles down so I don't get a face full of vaporized hydrochloric acid. Alright, I'm going to reach over and see if you can see. I don't know if you can see it. I don't want to put the camera directly over it because it's not good for the camera. Let your nose tell you. Stop breathing immediately if you feel anything. This is where people wear a mask and get screwed up, because the mask does not, unless you're a millionaire and you can afford a high dollar mask, your mask doesn't protect you from a lot of stuff. It may take that initial, you know, that initial pop away, but you're still getting some of this stuff through the mask. You're better off just not to breathe. If you don't take it in at all, it's not going to hurt you. Okay, so there we are. I don't know how well I can see it. I don't know if the camera's bringing it, but there's literally a film on top of that. Okay, that film that's floating is silver colored, but it ain't silver. Because first of all, it would not be floating. Maybe this angle's a little better that you can see it. I don't want to put any water in there because we'll get some lead chloride right now, or what I believe is lead chloride. But I'm going to go ahead and get this jar poured off, and we're going to do it again. You can see how, as this is cooling, how black this is getting. Now the contaminants will settle out in the bottom and it'll clear up. Forgive me, I'm not good with one hand doing stuff. But look at the color of that already. Step back, take a breath. Come forward again. Not breathing. I'm going to shake this down like this so we can get this acid out of here. And you see nothing's pouring off except that stuff that was on top. Sorry, like I said, I'm not real good with freehanding camera. Step back. And what I do is I come all the way back to the back fan. And catch a fresh breath. All that's blowing out and away from me. And then come in and finish it up. We're going to put some more acid in it and we're going to boil it again. But already look at the color, how much it's changing. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do one more boil, should do it. Look at the color of that crap. Now you cannot tell me that that's pure silver. That would have been pure silver. I'm sorry, I don't believe it. Not when I see this. So we're going to go ahead and put in some more fresh HCl. And we're going to set it back on the burner and we're going to do it again. And you see, we've still got color. And basically, I'm not going to be redundant with this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this same procedure until I don't have any color. When I don't have any color anymore, then I know that that's clean and we'll go to the rinse process. And I want to show you something in the rinse process too that'll verify one more thing we're going to be taking out with just boiling water. So, alright, I'm going to let this go. Like I said, I'm going to just keep doing this process over and over until the acid does not have any color in it. It may take twice, sometimes it's only once, sometimes it's 8 times. You know, it just depends on each individual batch. Okay, so let me let this go. When we get down to where we're going back to the boiling water, I'll come back. As normal, guys, I lied. I just wanted to show you we're getting into our, I'll probably do it one more time after this. This is our 3rd boil. You can see the difference again in the hydrochloric acid. You can see that it is boiling, it is slightly tinted, and we still have that crap floating up to the top. So it's almost done though. I mean, like I said, when you end up with a clear, when your acid is clear, it stays clear, you know your silver is not contaminated anymore. So I'm going to let this go, probably do it one more time, then we're going to go to the rinse. I know, I lie a lot, I can't help it. But as I see things happen, I want you guys to see it too. So, alright, we'll be back in a bit. Okay guys, as you can see, I went and got the good cameras charged, and I went and got the tripod. As you can see, this is our final boil. This is 4 times. That is boiling. It is absolutely clear. It's boiling good and hard, so you can see that. So I'm going to let it go another few minutes, and then we're going to start the rinse process, and I'll get back to you then. But I just wanted to show you the difference from when we started. So we have gone from this, basically we've gone from stuff that is this color to water clear acid, which is what we want. So, and if you can't see it, and I'm not going to get this camera close enough to it because I am not going to screw this camera up, but there is that film of crap on top of that. It's a whole film of silverish crap. Now I get this almost every time I do contacts, but this stuff had more. So anyhow, let me get back and get this camera out of the way here, set it up. Just got about another 5 minutes, and we're going to go to the rinse process, and I want to show you something straight away on the very first rinse. So we'll be back at you then. Okay, I just grabbed the handheld real quick. I'm not so worried about putting this over it. See that stuff? That ain't silver. So we're going to pour that off and do our rinse. Okay guys, our water has come to a simmer, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of our last bit of contaminants. And what that probably is, now I'm not positive, because once again I am not a chemist, I'm not a metallurgist, I mean I'm a hobbyist. But from everything I've read and everything I understand, we should get our last bit of contamination out of this, which should be a little bit of lead or tin chloride. And what it's going to do is the hot water, if it does it, now I don't know if it's going to do it, I'm thinking it's going to do it, because it almost always has. We should get an instant, now, and I'm using well water. I'm not using chlorinated water. This is out of my well. It's not got any additives in it or nothing. So I'm going to put this in, I'm going to take the hot water out, put it in. We should get a cloud of white almost instantly that should dissolve into the water. I believe it's lead. I believe that that's lead chloride, that we're going to be removing the last of that contamination right now. Now, I could be wrong. It could be tin, it could be both, it could be a lot of things. But if I'm correct, I'm going to pour this water in. Now, this has just had the hydrochloric acid poured off of it, the clear acid. Now I'm going to pour this in. And there we go. See that white? Now that should dissipate into the solution. It should clear up. If it doesn't, we'll just pour it off. But a lot of times it'll just go clear after a minute. Stir it up real good. And like I said, if it doesn't, we're going to just pour it off. And there it goes. See, it's clearing up, which means it's going into the solution or into the water. Now, the only thing I'm aware of, like I said, I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this. The only thing I'm aware of that does that is lead or tin. So, you know, solder, basically. So that should be it. This should be absolutely pure now. We're going to rinse this several times. I'm just going to keep doing that. But you see how that cleared up? So that means it's in solution. I'm going to take this over here to my other pour off bucket, and all my waste now, I basically, hang on, pretty much all my waste I evaporate, because I end up with just a little bit of stuff in the bottom of a container. I scrape that out as a dry powder or a crystal. A lot of times it forms in crystals, and then I have, like I said, a buddy that takes it from there. I have tried doing you know, baking soda and this and that. Now I do take my AP and my aqua regia when it's done, and I do drop the copper out of it. Then I reduce that down and neutralize it. Same process. But I have just found that it saves a lot of grief. And I don't know if you can see the color of that stuff, but look at how white it is now. We no longer have that black or gray crap. It's clumped up pretty good. But anyway, back to the waste. If I was to do a video on it, it would take forever, because I mean, sometimes I have this, basically this old coffee pot up here running all the time, evaporating solution, so that I just end up with a little bit of crap in the bottom. And so there's really no point in making a video. I can tell you what I do. And then I just have, you know, since I've been doing this, since I've been doing the YouTube videos and started doing this method, the evaporation method, for my waste, I maybe have a quart, a mayonnaise size quart jar full of hard dried material. Now it's very dense, it's very heavy. So, you know, yeah, you got to be careful. I used a plastic jar. I started with a glass one and broke it. But anyhow, that's what I do with my waste anymore, is I do mostly evaporation, and then I just, so all I have basically is just a little bit of solids to deal with, instead of trying to neutralize all this water and the solutions and all this and pour it out and, you know, or get rid of it. It's much easier, I found. It takes electricity, so I don't know what that cost is, but I've just found it to be easier, especially now. So anyway, you can see we have, that's actually on the outside, that color. But you can see we have nice white, silvery white powder now. So I'm going to continue rinsing this off and maybe do a little bit more talking here in a bit, and then I'm going to try and go in and take a break. I'm getting a little bit worn out. So we'll get back at you later. Okay guys, right quick, I don't think I've ever shown this before. I never really thought about it, because I just do it. Most of the time, you know, you see me do a rinse. A lot of times, well, I don't do it all the time, because I pretty much know. But we're rinsing acid out of this silver. So if you're not sure that you got it all out, there's a real simple test. That is baking soda, what I just put in here. This is our rinsed silver. Now, if I got all the acid out of this, when I add it to this baking soda, nothing will happen. If it foams up, then I got to keep rinsing it. And basically we got a tiny bit of reaction. I don't know if you can see that, but not much. So that's it. You can see it was just a little bit. We still got our baking soda in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse this about 3 or 4 more times in boiling water, and that should be it. But that's a good, simple way to test that you have totally rinsed your material. Like I said, I never thought about it before. Most of the time I rinse this thoroughly. This is about the 3rd or 4th rinse on this, and I figured I would show you, just because I didn't figure it was done yet. Normally I do this 5 to 6 times with boiling water. Stir it up like I'm doing, you know, kind of break it up if you can a little bit, pour it off, and then do it again. Now this has a tiny bit of acid in it, this water. you could probably drink it. Wouldn't advise it. I mean, there's not enough. It's going to be like basically pool water. So yeah, there's a little bit of acid in it. It's not really going to hurt anything. You know, I generally, again, once I said, like, I evaporate everything down now, including this rinse water, but it probably could just be disposed of, or you could probably pour it in your pool, which again, I don't advise doing that either. But I'm just saying there's not enough in it that it's really going to make that much difference. By the time you figure maybe a tablespoon of muriatic acid to you know, a gallon, 2 gallons of water is not that hypercritical. I mean, it is there. Like I said, I don't think it's going to do any damage. But again, in my situation, I evaporate everything down, so it doesn't matter anyway. All right, I'm going to continue this rinse. I'm going to hit this about 3 more times, and then we're going to get it in the drying dish, and then I got to stop, guys. All right, so we'll be back at you when we get to that point. Okay, guys, we got everything rinsed off. Here is our rinsed silver. You can see how nice and white it is. Big difference from that gray. It looks gray right now because it's wet still, but it is way whiter than it was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this dumped into that dish. Let me run over and turn the drying oven on. Which is just a little toaster oven. When we upgraded our toaster oven, I took that one out here to use for drying and other projects. So now we're just going to put that in there. We got little bits, so we're going to make sure and rinse everything into there. Make sure we got it all out. I've been goofing with spray bottles for a long time. And as you can see, that is a sprayer. They're about $8, $10 at Walmart. And you can put a gallon in them and it lasts forever. You don't have to goof around. Keep filling these guys up, which I still use them, you know, but when it's something I'm going to do like this, I just grab that thing. Alright, now what I'm going to do is tip this up at an angle so that we can get all of our water to come down to one side. You may get a little silver in there, just brush it back up, and you can see it'll stay. When you push it back up, it stays. That tells you it's dense enough. It's silver, it's not whatever. So now I just take a pipette, draw this water out. Now when it gets down to the end here, there's nothing technical about this. I just like taking out as much of the water as I can so that when I put it in the drying oven, which I set at about 300 degrees, you know, water boils at 210, what is it, 210, whatever it is. I don't even know, all this stuff I do, I don't know where water boils. But anyway, I like to get as much fluid out of this as possible, or as much of the water out as possible, so it doesn't spatter. Because if it spatters, you're going to be blowing out little bits of... So same process when I'm melting something in a dish that's wet. I heat the dish up first so that, you know, around the stuff before you start directly heating it, so you don't get a boiling effect on your metal. Which, just like anything else, if something boils instantly or too hot, too fast, it spatters. Like cooking something in a pan. And you don't want that. Now once I do that, you shake this up, shake it down to one side again, and tip it up again, and you're going to get some more, you're going to get more water coming out of it. Because it's very dense, so it will hold the water. Same principle, if you get a little bits of silver in there, just scrape them up out of your way with the pipette, and then just draw that water out. Now after I do this, I got to go sit down inside. I've been sitting down about every few minutes out here in between everything in my chair, but I have to get in a comfortable position. Even sitting out here isn't comfortable. Let me juggle that up again a bit. Check it one more time. Got a little bit of water, nothing to speak of. So that to me is ready to go into the drying oven. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in there. You can let it air dry, you can do whatever, but one thing I've seen several mistakes made that people make is they get to this point and they let it sit for a day or two and they think it's dry. No, if you don't heat it or you don't let it sit for a long time, these clumps will hold water. It'll give you a false reading when you weigh it. So you're going to actually have less silver than you think you have because you haven't properly dried it. So I put it in a little toaster oven at 300 degrees for several hours until I can shake it and it's just completely loose. If it sticks at all or sticks together at all, it's not dry. So anyhow, like I said, I got to run in now. I hope you got the gist of this. I'm trying to, I tried to show the process. You can go back to some of my other videos where I've done it all the way through, but it's pretty redundant. I mean, it's the same thing over and over and over. So I've got these last few batches to clean up. I'm going to work on the next one tomorrow. I've been able to do about one every other day because this will totally wreck me for tomorrow. I probably won't be able to move. So, all right, guys, I'll get back at you then. Okay guys, I'm just popping in again. It's a couple days later. I had to take a break. I did stuff about every, I don't know, maybe every other day. I did a batch, or was part of a batch. Anyhow, this is our final cleanup. What this is all the the settling waters. This is the stuff that after I did the copper drop, I always keep all that solution, and then I do an acid drop and I collect and convert, which you have seen in many of my videos, convert that over to metal, but silver chloride. So basically what this is all the cleanup. And this is something, I really hate to do this with my good camera. I don't like getting over the acid, but you see that film? That is this stuff. It is not silver. This is the stuff that's floating, that ends up floating in the acid. I just wanted to show you, see if we can get it in the light. It's silver colored, but it is not, it's not silver. I don't know what it is. It's very light, but I get it a lot of times, a little bit with contacts, but as you can see, and I'm not going to dry that out and weigh it and all that for waste. I'm not going to even count it, on the percentage, but you can see there's quite a bit in there, and you can see in this is the last boil on this stuff. It's cleaned up pretty nice, but it's coated, the whole top of that is coated with that little silvery flake stuff. Now I don't know if that's the same thing we got when we did this, which is actually, this is number 6. This was those weird wires. I mean, we got what silver we got out of it. It's very nice and very clean, but it's just not a lot. That's why I'm thinking it was plating. I'm waiting to dry that. That's batch 5 and 6. This is from batch 6. This is that little filter we're going to melt, and then the wires that were in there, we're going to melt those as well. Batch 4 is currently in the oven drying, so I'm just kind of doing a little update here to show you what's going on. When this finishes, I'm probably going to go in and take a break for a while. But that's, like I said, I got to rinse this yet with water, boiling water. So that's where we're at. We should be doing the weigh-in pretty soon. But I just wanted to show you that stuff. And silver like that, if that was silver, it wouldn't be floating. But like I said, I don't know what it is. Maybe one day, maybe I'll save this little bit here, run it through a filter, and get it analyzed one day, just to see what it is. But there's where we are, so I just wanted to touch base with you. We'll be back at you later. Okay guys, we have finally made it to the nitty-gritty. Actually about a month has passed since I've been able to get out here. I do think, however, though, that the grass is almost topped out. It's almost matching the back. So I think it's about as high as it's going to get. It's probably going to seed, so that's fortunate. It is actually a little cool. It's nice out here today. So let's finish this up. I'm sure Caleb will be very happy because he's only been waiting about a year. And I again want to thank you guys and thank everybody for hanging in there. You know, some things I guess just can't be avoided. I can only do what I can do, and unfortunately, that's not very much now. We had a little light at the end of the tunnel there for a while. I actually finally got in to see, I guess you would pretty much say, a specialist. This particular doctor is only 6,500 of them in the country. And I got in to see her, and she, evidently what I have is called spinal or facet spinal arthritis. I think that's what it's called. And it's really, she explained to me why it hurts so bad and what's going on. And then she says, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's a procedure we can do to at least maybe help a little bit so you can get some sleep and, and get a little relief. So, just long story short, we got all that set up to do that procedure. And 3 days before the procedure, it's amazing that doctors don't dictate anymore. Insurance dictates. And insurance decided that they don't want to pay for that. They want me to do some other things that are pretty much impossible, but I mean, I guess I got to do it or try to do it, and hopefully they'll wake up and realize, this is a specialist that requested this to be done. I mean, I think she knows what she's doing, and but apparently insurance companies now know more than doctors. So anyway, like I said, long story short, so I'm basically right back where I was. Took 7 or 8 months to get in to see this doctor. So anyhow, let's get to this final stage. I know you guys have been waiting months for this. And the first thing we're going to do is melt this. Then we're going to melt this, and we're going to take them in and give them a test. Actually, I did manage to get everything dried, rinsed and dried last month. So that's just been sitting on my desk doing nothing. But we're ready to do the weigh-in. I just don't want to do it didn't want to do it until I did this part, because this is actually going to count in the batch 6. If it's silver, we don't know what it is yet. And we're going to go ahead and put this stuff in there. The dish is already prepped and hot. And we're going to see if it melts. I don't even know if it's going to melt. I don't know what it is. With stainless steel, it isn't going to melt, I can tell you that. So let's go ahead and give her a try. I'm not going to talk while the torch is going, and if it takes a long time, as usual, I will time lapse this. Well, guys, I don't know what it is, but it is not a precious metal of any kind that I know. It melted straight away. I mean, that only took a few seconds. It is still just now getting hard. So I don't know what it is. We'll put a little acid on it later and see. But now that's the needles and the pins. I'm going to throw it in a pickle pot. It looks like there's a little copper there. So I don't know what this is. It's some kind of an alloy. It's definitely not, I don't think, any platinum group metal at all, because that wouldn't have melted as soon as I hit the torch on it, no matter how hot that dish was, because that stuff's not going to melt right away. So we're going to throw that over there for now. I'm going to fold up this filter. This was that little silvery foil looking stuff. And I'm going to cover this with borax. It's good and dry. It's been dry for months. I'm going to put that in there. And hopefully there'll be a little bit of something precious there. But we'll see. So once again, I'm going to burn this off. And I won't be talking while the torch is on. Okay, we got a little bead of something in there. I have no idea what it is. I'm going to let it sheet over. We're going to pull it out. Pickle pot's already going. For once, I already had it set up. Can't even see where it went. I do not know if I got it or not. Well, I don't think it's anything because it's smashed up. Yeah, it was, this is like tin or lead or something along those lines. Because it melts really fast, although we're going to throw them both in the pickle pot and we're going to take them in and test them. Alright guys, I'll see you when we get inside. Okay guys, here we are. Here's our little, let me get some lights on. I just wanted to show you real quick, while the light's off, these are fairly even in color. They're white. When we turn the lights on, they're going to shade out a little bit. This one here is actually a little bit gray, but believe it or not, I boiled the pea out of it in hydrochloric acid and it just didn't change. And this one's a little gray. But, you know, gold has its variations too. We have gold that comes out black, it comes out brown, it comes out tan, it comes out... So who knows? But this darkest one was actually the purest. So, anyhow, let me ease up to my desk here. Here is our little pieces of metal. I'm not really sure what they are. I did already hit it outside with a little bit of hydrochloric acid just to check it, to see if it was aluminum, and it's not aluminum. To be honest with you, I really don't know what it is. I know it melted really easy, even though that dish was hot. So it's not going to be palladium. I do want to put a little bit of 10-carat acid on it right quick, just to see if it turns bright. It'll be a bright greenish, bright yellow. If it's palladium or something along those lines. So let's put a tiny little bit here. I'm beginning to think they're the same thing, whatever they are, because they're not, they feel the same. The only other thing I could do would be, excuse me, be specific gravity. And maybe, you know, we get some kind of a idea of what the metal is. But I mean, this guy is bubbling here. I can see it's reacting. You're getting a hazy little tint, more blue and turning dark than I would say green. Normally it's going to be like that. It'll be that color if it's palladium. So anyway, whatever it is, I don't know. So what I'm going to do is just set them aside. If Caleb wants me to send them back to him, I will send them back to him. If not, I will just throw them in the mystery pile. where one day when I'm rich I can afford to get it all tested and see what all this stuff that I have no idea what it is. Alright, so that's out of the way. Let's get down to something we know is good. Let me clean this up and put this stuff up so we can get to the silver. So I'll be right back. Okay guys, let's get down to the fun part. Let's get down to the tally. This was our batch number 1. I'm going to go through each batch and then we're going to put it all together and divide it up. This we started with 445.42 grams. Our finished weight was 370.84. We had a loss of 74.58 grams. That is hard loss plus the liquid loss. In other words, plus whatever metal stayed in solution or went into solution. So these were 83 or about, I mean really close, but 83.2% pure. Okay, and we used about 420 mils of nitric to dissolve that. Our squares, which was batch number 2, this started at 330.09. It ended at 235.57. We had a loss of 94.52 grams. I believe this and the rounds had the most tungsten in them because there was tungsten in this. So that's accounting for our a lot more weight of our loss, which put this batch at 71.3%, which is a little below. I don't care. He's waited 10,000 years for this. It's going to go to him in a normal split. I don't care if it makes the average or not. This was our rounds. This was 189.81 grams to start. Our finish was 123.71. So we had a loss of 66.1 grams, which is 65.1% pure. So that, normally I pull all the tungsten out and I do it separately so that you can get a more accurate, percentage of what it was. But this, by the batch, this is how they came out with the tungsten and whatever other crap was in them. Number 4 was our mixed, which was actually a pretty good batch. We started with 81.64 grams. We ended up with 70.3, 11.34 grams of waste, and it comes out at about 86.1%. Now, this is the one I was talking about earlier. This is our darkest, and it's pretty dark. I mean, it's almost I don't know if it has a purplish tint to it, almost like maybe like silver chloride, that kind of a color. Not as pronounced, but that kind of a tint, I guess. It is clean. I actually did this one twice. I boiled it, the first cleanup. Then because of the color, I did it again 2 more times, and it boiled. The acid was clear, so it's got to be clean. It just happens to be a shade different color. All right, that was the buttons. Now that was those little tiny. They're usually on the end of a copper arm or something, and they're kind of riveted in there. And that's why I said he did a really good job doing these, because he got the rivet. He actually pulled the rivets, or however he did it. But anyway, he didn't send me, cut off copper ends, which would have really cut the percentage on this one. This is actually our best batch. There was 37.76 grams starting weight. The finished weight was 37.43 grams, which is only a loss of about 1/3 of a gram. These were 99% pure. So that goes to show you the difference. I can't really go accurate with these because they were tungsten, but this probably without the tungsten was probably pushing in the 80s, most of the time in the 80s, but that was 99% pure. Alright, this is our number 6, which is this stuff. This was those fuses, that little whatever it is. This is the silver that came off of them. So I am guesstimating that they were just silver plated onto whatever this metal is, which I don't know. So the scrap of the fuses was 12.86 grams of scrap to start. This is finished weight is 0.38 grams of silver. So we'll walk through this one just so I can show you how to do it. the percentage of silver on this is so minute when we get to the percentages, but that is a loss of 12.86 minus 0.38 equals a loss of 12.48 grams. This is why we don't do silver plate. The weight percentage is 0.38. I'm not even able to figure this percentage. Divided by 12.86 equals 0.029%. So we are talking not even like 2%. You know, we're 0.0 because we have one. We got to move that decimal one. So yeah, 0.02% of silver in that, which is this. That's just not 0.02%, which is nothing, virtually nothing. 0.38 grams. I don't know what silver is right now. Let's call it $25. So $25 an ounce divided by 31.104 equals 80 cents a gram times 0.38 equals, there's 30 cents worth of silver in here. I remember, I don't have it written down, but it was 25, I think somewhere around 25 milliliters of nitric to dissolve this, to end up with this stuff because of what it was. It took a lot of nitric acid, way more than it should have, to end up with this, which is not silver, and this is the actual silver that came out of it. Alright, so that is that. We had a total starting weight of 1,958 grams, and our finished weight I haven't added up yet, 370.84 plus 235.57, 235.57. I know this is boring, but you got to do the numbers too. 123.71 plus 70.3 plus 37.43, 37.43 plus 0.38. Okay, plus. So that is a finished weight of 838 grams, 838.23 grams finished weight. Now, we aren't quite done yet. This is the cleanup. Now, what the cleanup is I take all the dropped silver fluid, and those the stuff that we dropped with the copper. I take all that liquid and then I drop it again. I put hydrochloric acid in it because there's always a little bit of silver left. So I do that. This is also that bucket. There's maybe a half a gram from that bucket of pour off water. All the settling waters, in other words, everything that I used in this refine in this project, I save everything and then I clean everything up at the end. All the liquids, all the fluids, everything else. So what that is that's the cleanup. That's what's left. And basically what that is I call it down the drain silver. Because if you don't do this extra cleanup and save all this stuff, you're literally, this is the stuff that gets poured out. So, and that weighed 7.47 grams. So we have our cleanup, and it weighed 7.43 grams. So we're going to add that to our total recover weight, 7.43, which gives us 15, a total of 845.66 grams recovered. Now we can see what our percentage is, because without this down the drain stuff we would have been even less. Real quick before we do our percentage, this was the chain mail, which we know was again about like this other plated stuff. This is the filters, which I have already, let's see, we had 99 grams of tungsten waste. We had 9.08 grams of solid dust waste that came out in the filters, which was a total of 108.08 grams of solid waste. So the rest of whatever the difference is between these went into solution as copper, as lead, as tin, as whatever it was. But anyway, so this is his scrap, along with this. If he wants that, I got to find out from him if he wants to, you know, have this stuff mailed back. Like I said, I keep everything. If you don't want it, then I'll throw it in a bin. In 1 century, it'll all go back and get refined. Because I'm sure there's a little something in this, but it's just not worth the effort unless you've got pounds and pounds and pounds of it. All right, so let's see what our total refined was. We have 845.66, 845.66. And we're going to divide that by our start, which was 1097.58 equals. So our total refine worked out to 77%. So we made it even with the tungsten, even with this little bit of crap and whatever, which these two really pulled us up. So 77%. So we stayed above the 75%, which I'm very happy with. And basically that's it. So what I'm going to do real quick, another thing I'll tell you before I do this, I'm going to just mix it all up, divide it, take my 25%, and then I'll show you, you know, whose is what and what it is. You see some of these are balled up a lot. Now these balls, if I'd have broke it up before I put it in there in the oven, they're fairly hard. If there's going to be any like copper wire contaminant or anything like that, they're going to be in these solid balls, because otherwise in the powder I would be able to see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this all through a strainer. I will generally keep the balls, or as much of them as I can, and then crush them up later and check them and make sure they're clean, so that we don't, you know, so he doesn't run into that. I need to actually talk to him and find out, you know, I think he wanted the powder back. I don't know if he's going to do casting or what he's going to do, but I'll find that out later. So let me go ahead and do that, get it divided up, and then I'll show you what we got out of it in the end and whose is what's. So I'll be right back at you. Okay guys, so after 1,000 years, we finally knocked out this silver refine. There is Caleb's cut. He has 634.25 grams, so a bit over half a kilo. And there's my cut of 211.41 grams of just under a quarter kilo. So guys, it was fun. I want to take this minute to thank everybody for hanging in there and staying with me. I appreciate that. I know my videos are very sparse and very hit and miss. But I'll tell you, I'm doing the best I can do. Probably this winter we'll be spending more time in here, breaking stuff down. I know I'm not going to be able to, you know, I can only even sit so long. I mean, my comfortable position is on the couch with my knees up on the ottoman, turned over on my left side. So if you can imagine, I mean, that's how I spend most of my time when I'm sitting down. Hopefully I can get that procedure done eventually. That will it's supposed to give me some relief. Again, I'm trying not to pee and moan in your ear too much, but I want you to understand why, you know, you haven't been seeing me do this. And I enjoy this. This was, you know from my earlier videos, I mean, I was putting videos out left and right. I mean, I really enjoy doing this. And just with all these issues that have popped up, you know, it's hard. It's hard when you gotta, you know, when something you love and something you want to do, you know, you can't do it. I was pretty much waiting for retirement so I could do this full time, and now that that's happened, I mean, I can't do it, you know, unless we get something fixed here. So anyway, Caleb, again, I am so sorry this took so long. I really appreciate you understanding. The next gold video, we have a gold video coming up. that is been waiting in the wings forever, and I do mean forever, like maybe a year and a half. I'm going to just say for right now, East Texas or Texas, that's what I'm going to call him right now. I appreciate you as well, waiting and not. I mean, these guys haven't even, an email here or there just to see how I'm doing. They haven't even asked about their metals or when they can get their stuff or anything like that. And I mean, there's just not a lot of people like that in the world anymore. I don't know that I would have had the patience that they've had. So it's greatly appreciated, guys. I'm going to try and get on that next week, get started on that. I've got a few more appointments I have to do, and then we're going to do that one. That is actually a refined, I don't want to say gone bad, but gone amiss. He had some problems, so he packed everything up and sent it to me, and we're going to see if we can fix that. After that, I've got this small test to do for JRA Cat, which is just a silver powder test. There's several people I know that do their contacts this way, and what they do is they actually file them off. They hold on or put them in a vise and they file the contacts off so they have a powder. So he has sent me this, I guess it's approximately 100 grams, I think it was, to test and see what the percentage of silver is. So then we'll do that one, and then after that we have one more gold refined, and then we are caught up, because I've pretty much been turning stuff down until this stuff gets done. And I'm not gonna in the future, as of right now, for now, yes, I will still accept refines. Yes, I'm still going to do this as and when I can, but one of the conditions of accepting a refine is I can make no guarantees on when you're going to get it back. I just can't do that right now, and that's been the problem with this, and that's why I said I'm really appreciate you guys understanding that. But I am going to do them. I'm not going to stack them up though. I'm going to get one, while I'm doing one, I may accept one, but I'm not going to stack up 2 or 3 or 4 behind it anymore, because I know I'm not going to be able to keep up with it. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you. I appreciate you watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. I know you hear everybody out there that makes videos say that, but I'm learning that it does really help your channel. So if you would do that for me, and everybody stay safe out there, and we will see you in the next video.